I've been very involved in the talent wars, right across the world. Lived and worked in 4 countries, and I think see myself as a bit of a international kind of expert in those areas. Sylvia Ann Hewlett, the founding president of the Center for Work-Life Policy here in New York, which is a think tank. I don't think it's obvious to leaders that this is a must-have. I mean, everyone sees it as a kind of nice-to-have. It's clearly a good adornment, particularly in good times. So making the business case for why this has to be done now, even in the midst of a global recession, actually needs a pretty complicated argument. And so just to go down the list and to spell out why it is an urgent priority now, I think the first thing I would stress is the tremendous demographic shifts out there in the world. And let me make it very, kind of vivid. If you take the global talent pipeline, everyone in the world that has at least a bachelor's degree, only 17% of that pipeline these days comprises white men. 83% of every qualified, labor pool around the world is actually female or multicultural. And therefore, just on sheer efficiency grounds, you're not going to be able to recruit the brightest and the best, to kind of lean on the richest pool of talent if you tend to rely on white guys to kind of lead you into the future. So the demographic changes, I think, make it a very urgent problem. Another new factor, there's a lot of research on the efficacy of teams. And it turns out that diverse work teams, encompassing, gender diversity, racial diversity, age diversity, make much better decisions and are much more innovative than homogeneous teams. If you try and design a product these days relying on a bunch of Caucasian men who all grew up in Greenwich, the odds are you'd end up with a very narrow kind of conception as to what might be useful out there. So the new work, particularly the London Business School, has done a lot of new work on just the innovation and efficiency of teams and how diversity makes a huge difference. Another factor, and perhaps I'll stop at 3, although there are many out there, is what's happened to the face of the consumer, the face of the client. And again, this is leaning on Tom Peters' work. I mean, what he shows is that, 83% of consumer decisions these days are made by women. The consumer is not king, the consumer is queen.